This is Ahmed Ala. I'm happy today to interview Mr. David Underwood. I'll start your journey with ASHRAE to ask you, who is David Underwood?
Very fair question. Who is David Underwood? I'm not sure I can describe myself very well, but I was born many long years ago. I don't want to identify how old I am, but I was born in Regina, Saskatchewan. I am a Canadian. I have lived in 5 of the 10 provinces in Canada, so I've been around the country quite a bit. At the age of 10, I was living in a small town in Saskatchewan where they were building a highway. They built a bridge across a river near my town. And I spent that summer watching them build this bridge and talking about it with the engineer who was on site. Of course, he was a civil engineer. This interested me in engineering. And I became a civil engineer from the University of Manitoba later. So I started my career as a civil engineer, not mechanical. In most of my adult life, I've lived in Toronto with my wife, Jane. We have 2 children with their sons-in-law, and we have 5 beautiful grandchildren who are now growing up. As a matter of fact, 2 of them are going to college this fall. So that's sort of what David Underwood is to date. However, the other things that David Underwood has done, beyond my family situation, I've always been very active in volunteer organizations. I love volunteering because I think I have something to contribute back to our industry. I have been involved in Ontario with our Contractors Association because I was a contractor all my working career, and I was on their board of directors, served in all their officer positions throughout the course of the years. And I also did a lot of work with the provincial government on refrigeration control and refrigeration management situations. I also worked with the apprenticeship program where I often gave advice to the provincial government as to where I thought we should be teaching our apprentices and what we needed to do to keep them up to date with the industry. I've also participated in community activities, and right now I'm serving on the advisory committee about accessibility because I am disabled in the city of Oakville, Ontario, where I currently live. That's the initial story of David Underwood.
Okay, can you talk to me about ASHRAE experience and since when you are ASHRAE member?
When I left university, I went to work with the train company. I spent 6 months with them learning the HVAC in our industry, so I converted from being a civil engineer to a mechanical engineer. Because Train always gave me training information to keep me up to date with the industry. That was wonderful. However, I left Train after about 9 years, and then I came into the industry, and because I wanted to be up to date, I had to find somewhere where I could get that current information. And I discovered ASHRAE. And I knew about ASHRAE, but I didn't really know what they had done. The first ASHRAE system, first time I was really introduced to ASHRAE was at this show in the wintertime. And I thought that's what ASHRAE was. It was a show. However, a little bit later, I found out there were technical committees, which I joined one, and from there, I continued with ASHRAE until today. But my first real involvement in ASHRAE that I thought was very interesting. Today I'm attending a meeting in Kansas City. 35 years ago, there were 2 forums that started at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. One was with big buildings, the other one was with operation and maintenance. And because I was a design, build, and services company, I was interested in the operation and maintenance side. These 2 forums, we were talking about buildings that didn't seem to work very well from an operator's point of view, both for the big buildings and also in the operation and maintenance. We felt, with that early morning forum, which was the first forum, of the meeting that year, that there would be very little interest. Well, it turned out people were out into the hallways. And we talked to each other afterwards as to what the information was that we had gathered from the forum. And from there, the initiative of commissioning came to be within ASHRAE. And that was when we formed our first guideline committee to come up with commissioning, which has become a very large part of what ASHRAE does and our educational information in the world.
This is explaining how you are attracted to HVAC and R and engineering part. Let me to ask you again about in your ASHRAE journey, which part is much closer to your heart from your journey of ASHRAE or your experience with ASHRAE?
Well, as I stated, commissioning is one of those things that I'm very, very interested in. I'm also interested in refrigeration because I was primarily a refrigeration contractor with, my mechanics that worked for my company, all certified refrigeration mechanics. Although we did other things because we were sort of a broad-based company, which you have to be in order to survive as a contractor in this industry. Other interests in ASHRAE, of course, is the management side. And I came through ASHRAE, as far as the, moving up to the positions that I finally served in ASHRAE was through the Publishing and Education Council. So it was really more through the publishing side of the organization than the technical side. Now I was involved with the technical, through the technical committees, but I'm probably more of a technical manager than I'm a technical expert. And that's how I got to where I am with it, ASHRAE. And then I got into onto the board, which is a wonderful experience, serving as a DAL, then serving as vice president for 2 years, and on through the executive committee to have the great honor of serving ASHRAE in 2015-16 as the ASHRAE president.
Great. Always in our life, there is someone, a special person. In your life, who's the mentor or the role model, a special person you can mention to us? And
this is very difficult because I have so many mentors and so many wonderful people. But I'm going to talk about 2 mentors first, and then I'll talk about ASHRAE mentors. But the 2 mentors that I had, in my career that helped me build a company and become a better HVAC&R engineer, one was a Hall of Fame member of ASHRAE. His name is Bob Tamblin, and he is from Toronto. Bob Tamblin gave me a great deal of confidence in my abilities because he often called me up to talk about refrigeration problems and how I would solve them. So that was, very, very, encouraging, and it really helped me think about who I am and what I can do, and I had great capabilities. The other person's name is Jim Rose. And Jim Rose worked with Bob Tamblin, but he also had worked on his own. He was a very good engineer. And every time I had some complex problems that I need to solve, I went to Jim and said, Jim, how do I solve this problem? And Jim was very good as a mentor. He posed back sophomoric questions to me that forced me to figure out myself what was wrong and how I could possibly find solutions. Because I truly believe engineers are in the solutions business. And if we can't find solutions for problems, we need to turn them to somebody else who can find those solutions. But as far as ASHRAE is concerned, George Jackins is one of the great mentors that I have had. He was a great mentor for me. Dick Charles was also another great mentor of mine. Dick and I used to talk to each other. He helped me a lot in my thinking and thoughts about ASHRAE and how ASHRAE works, how I could actually, give some information back to ASHRAE, because I've always believed, and this industry has been so good to me that I really need to give something back to it. And he gave me great ideas of how to do that within the ASHRAE organization. So those are 4 mentors who I had were particularly valuable to me in my career.
during your time in ASHRAE as a member or as a leader, what events changed ASHRAE and what events changed the industry?
Well, I've had a very long career, as you probably know, because I'm not 20 years old anymore. When I first came into this industry, the control systems were either pneumatic or electromechanical. Now everything is direct digital control. It's a tremendous change from where it was when I first came into this business. It has required a lot of deep thinking. It's required a lot of adjustments in how I approach things when you look at the way we run control systems in our building system today. But one of the things that I find is there are some really great things you can do with DDC. However, there's some issues with DDC as well. And one of the issues that I find that is somewhat difficult from an operations point of view is the fact that oftentimes operators do not really understand how to run these systems. Engineers are great at designing things, and operators are great if they know how to run things. This comes back to commissioning, which is one of those things near and dear to my heart within ASHRAE. I believe that there is a string with ASHRAE. It ties the owner, the designer, the contractor, and the operators together. And if you don't have that string that's, that works from one to the other and the way through the system, you end up with an operator that doesn't know how to run his building. So whenever I talk to an owner about commissioning a system, the very first question I ask them, who's going to run your system? Because if it's your janitor, don't make a complicated system or guarantee that your systems will not work.
Well, during your experience, what can you say the lesson you have been taught by ASHRAE changed your perspective in life?
Well, the answer to how the ASHRAE has really changed my life is that I've established great friendships. I've established great relationships with people within the ASHRAE, not just within ASHRAE. Because of the experience I've had with ASHRAE and the opportunities it has presented for me, I've met people from all around the world. We've made friends from all around the world. And I'll tell you, for somebody from a little town in Saskatchewan to be there and meet these people around the world is an incredible journey. And ASHRAE has afforded me to do all those things, which I think for that, ASHRAE has certainly changed my life.
Among your journey, what is the memorable memories from ASHRAE, which is, we can say, a remarkable or a special memory for you?
Special memories for me are so legion, it's very hard to pick one out. Maybe I can give you an experience that we had in one of our early journeys within the executive committee of ASHRAE. And I don't want to cast any aspersions on anybody. This is an interesting story, I believe. We were in India, and we were with the Delhi chapter, and they took us down to see Agra, which is a wonderful day. Then they put us on a train to go to Jaipur, which is also great. It was an experience of riding on a train in India, which of course I'd never done before. We arrived in Jaipur. We got into the station, went out to the front of the station, expecting to see somebody with a name card saying Underwood. There was nobody there. And I, as a foolish person, I did not know the hotel. I did not know the phone number of the person we were to meet. So there we were, and it was 8 o'clock at night. It's dark, and an older person and his wife in a wheelchair attracted a great deal of attention. So we had a lot of people gathering around us. Fortunately, I was able to call back to Delhi and talk to one of the people that I knew there, and he finally found out where the hotel was, and that's how we found our way to our destination. It was very scary, but in looking in retrospect, it was kind of a funny situation. It was also a dumb situation for me.
Before closing our interesting interview, I want to ask you what ASHRAE meant to you personally in one sentence.
ASHRAE has been a cornerstone for lifelong learning, making great friendships, and giving me opportunities to share my knowledge with others.
Thank you.